Welcome to another episode of Hangin with Mr. Francis. I'm your host, Mr. Francis, and this is episode 8, The Coming of Change. Now, I had to rearrange a few topics of discussion in regards to what I was going to talk about in episode 8, and I decided on this, which is Coming of Change. And the reason why I named it this, I would say, why the need for this episode. This is kind of like a review of, I would say, one's life and the way you go through things, and realizing that a change has to happen whether we like it or not. Change is always uncomfortable, no doubt, but it's something that we need in our life in order for us to grow, whether we like it or not. Sometimes in life you have to realize every action has a reaction, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes we don't even realize it. And realizing our actions, which in turn gives us a reaction, whether it's from a third party or some type of other thing that happens in our lives, is not necessarily a bad thing, but almost as if it's an eye-opener, whether it's for myself or from another individual's reaction towards me, or every action from them, vice versa. And life will always have its reasons. It may not be clear as day when it happens, but in time it happens, where you realize by looking back that that necessary change needed to happen. One of the things we tend to not take note, because we always want to get that validation from other individuals, from an outside source, instead of the ones that actually matter. And I'm guilty for it many times in my life. But as I'm getting older, I start to realize these things need to happen. One of the things I realize is that not everyone is going to like you or see you win. It's a hard pill to swallow. I didn't realize that until a certain period of my life. But when I look back, I can pinpoint a few times where that has happened. And boy, it is a tough pill to swallow. Because it's always the ones that are closest to you, the ones you thought you really knew the best. The ones that you thought liked you for who you are, or would like to see you win. More times, I would say 7 out of 10 don't really like you and don't want to see you win. It's like that saying, and as I get older, that saying keeps coming back and playing in my mind. And there's that quote that everyone wants to see you do good, but never better than them. And I'm not here to say I'm any perfect person to say that I always like to see people do good at one point. But I mean, at one point in my life, I used to think that way. Like, I would love to see people do good, but never better than me. But at some point in life, you realize that it's a very selfish way of thinking. Because when you strip away everything, we're all in this, and we're all fighting this one battle, which is called life. Every same way, just from a different angle. But as individuals, we put up a guard and not realize that, not necessarily put up a guard, but we tend to not realize that. I don't think it's not that we don't realize it, it's just we choose not to accept that, because we don't think that's something that could happen, where the people that are closest to us really like us or want to see us win. But it's the thing called life that as you get older, as time passes, you tend to realize these are usually the situations that happen. And there's nothing to get upset about. And the reason why there's nothing to get upset about is because once you come to accept that, it won't bother you. It will just roll off of you. Now, does it hurt? 110%. Because again, in life, they're going to be the ones closest to us that are going to let us down the most. That are not going to like us, but pretend they like us. Or not really there to celebrate our wins, but there to always say something when they notice our losses. And not there to help you up. Uplift you, I should say. So that brings me to think to myself, we gotta be mindful of the company that we keep. You know, as kids, growing up, young adults, we don't think about these things, so we gotta experience them. First heartbreak, you know, first time trying something new, and you know, being at your lowest and seeing who's there to help you up. But other aspects in your life, like starting a family and things like that, really shows the true colors of those. But I feel like these are the coming of changes that we need to go through, so that way we can assess the things in our lives of what we do as individuals and the people that we should keep around us. Because if you don't have the right people around you to uplift you or put you through, then you don't necessarily make it to that point. So you kind of have to keep mindful of the company you keep around you. It's like that saying that, you know, you always hear. They say, show me 10 of your friends and I'll show you where you're going to be in 10 years or in 5 years or whatever it may be. That quote that I hear a lot of times from a lot of entrepreneurs or businessmen and stuff like that. And it's a very true thing. Because if you have people around you who never want to see you win, never want to uplift you, then you feel very discouraged to even do anything or even, you know, just make the best out of life. Because misery needs company. So when a lot of people are not at peace with themselves, they tend to reflect that onto others around them. But in a sense, they lie to themselves that they're at peace, but they're really not. I'm still growing every day, every single day. And the thing about finding peace, it requires losing and not always winning. Because winning can be one thing, but you have to lose in life in order to appreciate the wins. And finding peace is never an easy thing, because it requires you to go through war. Not physical war, but a mental war. You know, not everyone's going to find it. Some people find it sooner than later. Some people never end up finding it, like I said. Others find it at the right time in their life. But in order, and this is my point of view, and nothing against anyone, any way, shape, or form, but in my point of view, I think finding that peace requires a lot of change in your life. It's ongoing change. And in order to do that, the changes require you to realize that every action has a reaction, which, you know, shapes the way you are. Because we all make mistakes in life, and those mistakes need to be done for you to realize certain things about your actions based on the reaction you get back. And life will always have its reasons, as I mentioned earlier. Not everyone, as I mentioned, is going to like you or see you win. And that is okay. As long as you tell yourself that you appreciate you, and you appreciate those around you that genuinely appreciates you. Let me say that. Genuinely appreciate you and want to see you win, then you will eventually like more of yourself and appreciate your wins when they do happen. But losing comes hand in hand with winning, so you have to be prepared for that. And mentioning earlier that you have to be mindful of the company you keep, because if you want to have a peaceful life, like life is never going to be 100% peaceful, but if you want it more times peaceful than chaotic, you have to keep mindful of the right people you keep around in your life. And we can't read everybody. You can gauge how a person is, you can see how that individual is, but you will never know 100% what they're really thinking. But the action never lies. The reaction never lies. But the most important part, before I end this off, because I'm trying to keep these episodes really short, minus the noises outside. But the number one thing is being honest with yourself, as I mentioned, and the ones that matter the most. There's no material things in this world that's going to bring you joy, love, and happiness. Those things are only acquired through being honest with yourself and the ones that matter the most, the ones that care about you the most. And as wild as this may sound to a lot of people, when you're on your deathbed, God willing that you make it deep in life, and you reach that point where you've done a lot in life, and certain things catch up to you, and you reach the end of the road, and you're laying on that deathbed of yours, and you're able to see life before you exit it, and see and be around people. You want to be able to have those people who actually care around you. And I think the movie that really taught me that was the movie Click, I believe, by Adam Sandler. Great movie. It's a lot of life lessons in that. But I think, and I tend to forget that whole concept of it. But sometimes you need a wake-up call to bring you back to that, because we live life so fast, but we have so little time. And it's just seeing how the world has changed kind of grounds you a little bit if you're able to stop for a moment and think and appreciate things for what it is. But with the times that we're living in, we're still in, still 2021. The year is almost ending, and with the times that we're living in, I can't speak for everybody else, but majority of the times, I don't know if people really be thinking about this. It's the last thing on anyone's mind, but you kind of have to stop for a moment and think, what matters the most? Being flashy on social media, or enjoying moments with the ones that you truly care about and the ones that truly care about you. But in order to accept that change, you gotta look within. And that's what I think mainly is one of the things that life teaches us. And as I said before, I'm still learning in life. I'm still accepting things, learning from mistakes, and trying to understand things, because nobody knows what life really entails, because things are always changing. We're always learning, we're always feeling, we're always changing and stuff like that. But we have to accept change and get a little bit uncomfortable and look within ourselves to truly understand that Nothing is for certain, and tomorrow is never promised. But to live life to the fullest, you have to accept that coming of change. I appreciate anyone who listened to this episode. It's a little different from what I normally do. But again, this is episode 8, The Coming of Change. I thank you all for listening, whoever decides to listen. And I hope you take something positive away from this whole experience of what I've just explained to you. So again, thank you for joining me on my podcast, Hanging with Mr. Francis, episode 8. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.